Quick overview of my Crackling Lance of Disintegration build with Power Charge stacking and Mage Blood and Swollen, which is 90% of the cost of the build. This is not that expensive, this is not as expensive. Even the Archdemon Crown with like 6 pseudo-links that goes around like 15 div, 20 div depending on the value of the rolls is, I can recommend more than socketing it into the chest. I'm just using an Explodey chest with Curse Aura, but you can also use an Impulsor. Mage Blood, is it needed? No, you can just use a normal one. Shock Avoidance, you need 100% of it for this gem. Storm Shroud, just to get the ailment immunity. Recommended cluster gem, only one, I think, with Paralysis, Doriani's Lesson, and Overshock, simply because these two will be at the front and Paralysis will always be on the end. You can check it in PoB if you copy it, just to check where it is. Medium clusters, Basics of Pain, Pressure Points, and Vast Power and Towering Threat. Not that important, just nice to have because we just stack power charges. Spell block must be kept, and that's why we use the Red Nightmare. And passive granting fire resistance also grant chance to block attack damage, which means we use the Tattoo of Namahu Firewalker to get the block chance. Also here, you also get it here, 6% block chance, which our cap is 68. With the lucky block from Swollen, it's around 80-90%. I don't know how much, it just feels like 80-90%, almost never get hit. And if you do, you have Progenesis Flaskoid, or you could just use normal evasion, armor flask, whatever, it doesn't really matter. These gear slots should be rare, this one can be rare. You can also use a power charge weapon like Void Battery. If you cannot afford Swollen, you can go around with like life on block shenanigans with rare shields or glancing blows shield, the unique one, I forgot the name of it. This cluster jewel is not really needed, I only need it for my Sublime Vision, which again is too expensive, but the reason why we use haste is because we cannot use any other hour anyway, because we have our Doriani's Overtuned Merc, which gives us 80% Zealotry effect and I think 45% Wrath effect, and also lucky damage, which means we high roll more than we low roll on Lightning. Lightning is king at the moment. To preface, just use a Energy Blade. ES stacking Inquisitor instead of Elementalist. I'm just using Elementalist because it has so much cast speed from the Lightning Golem, and because I played the different Elementalist build beforehand. Yeah, we have Perma Onslaught from Mage Blood, makes casting this spell really fast. It's fun. Is it worth it? No. Does it look like a Dragon Ball Z character? Yes, that's why it's fun. We use Choir of the Storm, niche amulet, not worth using, fun though. You can also use a replica Dragonflight. I think it's around like 3 million DPS extra, just the Lightning Bolt itself. Just constantly doing 3 million DPS if we crit, and we crit pretty often, I think 89% crit chance. And with Bottled Faith on bosses, which is decent. What else? Arcane Surge on hit with spells. You can also use, if you have like enough resists on your boots and gloves, you can also use a, how's it called? Calendar's Ring, which mirrors your Power Charge Ring. But then I don't know how you will get enough for your attributes. It's really hard to get the attributes. That's why I'm still using this armor, because if I equip Impulsor, I don't have enough attributes to have the shield, which is the whole point of this build. It's essentially a tanky caster, tanky only in air quotes, simply because it's not tanky, it just avoids a lot of damage, and the damage we hit, we just spread out over time and leech things that quickly kill us. It's volatile cores, degen on the ground, which is like all the time. which is killing most of the builds nowadays anyway. We use Arctic Armor simply because we cannot use any other aura because of the Sublime Vision. And yeah, since we are standing still while casting a lot of the time, it's a decent thing to have. As our movement spell, we use Lightning Warp because we're quite fast, and since it's based on distance and movement speed and cast speed, which we have a lot with Arcane Surge and Onslaught. It's pretty fast, especially while mapping. We have 8 power charges, and with Dominus Militant Faith we get 2% more spell damage, which with this one means 7% more spell damage per power charge. It's huge damage. We scale Shock Effect because of this, and the spell itself also increases Shock Effect, and we scale it with this node, and I think Overshock we have here and here, which means like huge Shock Effect scaling, which increases the damage taken by the enemies. And the first instance of increased damage taken by the enemy is actually a more increased. At least like that's how it's explained by the people. I'm sure it's not exactly more damage, but it's better than increased multiplier, at least the first instance. Anything else above that is not added to that. Choices. I would just recommend, if you cannot afford Swollen, to just get something like some other defensive layer, like Flesh and Stone, and just use Wrath and Zealotry reserve, and just put more points in reduced reservation here. 12 increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. You can also get these 2 nodes and just use Flesh and Stone and some other defensive layers. And instead of like this damaging flask, just use an evasion flask, just to get more damage, and then just use a Malachai's loop, and which gives you +2 power charges and shocks you at the end, and then Ralakash boots, I guess, and your Ralakash boots with like whatever. You can also use the Endurance charge stacking on Inquis build instead if you want to go Inquisitor. It's fine. This is not really needed. I'm just using it because it was the cheapest and I didn't pay any money for it. I think I dropped it from doing the boss rush strategy by farming Maven Chisels and Invitations. You can use a low life Corrupted Blood variant with Pain Attunement, and this one, Life Reservation. You count as low life when at 50% maximum life or below. I would just recommend it. You get one shot a lot of the time, unfortunately. But if you want even more damage, just go for it. Petrified Blood, not Corrupted Blood. We use a Corrupted Blood Jewel with maximum life and crit multi. Eldritch Battery, since this spell costs 91 mana, we cannot sustain that with anything but Energy Shield. Yeah, we use Haste because of action speed, Sublime Vision. You don't really need it. You can also run this Merc and then just run Wrath and Zealotry, but the same items. If you want to do this build next lake, Merc's probably not gonna stay like this, especially this interaction with the Riai's prototype and these 2 rings. It's just too overpowered. Maybe they're just gonna limit how much res you can lower, maybe limit equipment of uniques, maybe you completely remove the ability to equip uniques, whatever. As our golems, we use Stone Golem, Chaos Golem, Lightning Golem, Flame Golem for AoE and damage, life regeneration, chaos resistance, -1. With the flask is 35, it's decent. Lightning Golem, obviously most important, mana regen and cast speed. What else? On the Merc, Perkle's Toe. Don't really need this. You can also use a Leer cast or corrupted helmet with like increased aura effect. Shield, not really needed. You could use Victorious. Boots, just the only slot you can slot in with the rare ones, except the rings. And the rings don't give any defense, they're just gonna kill you Merc. This one, I didn't have any other one, because it's a strength int one. If you have the Kineticist, you can just equip anything on it, and then just equip the Soul Stealer gloves. And the Soul Stealer gloves also like make the bots incredibly tanky, and not the bots, the Mercs. It's just impossibly tanky. Choir of the Storm, as I already said, just a neat bonus. Gives us a decent crit chance and decent DPS on top of that, because in the PoB I think it does 3 million damage. In this one, in Swollen, I'm just using random lightning spells and inner raid support because it gives us added lightning, and this spell has a lot of added damage effectiveness. However, the best one you could use is like Vitality, Watcher's Eye, or use a Ball Lightning, Slow Approach, Life Gain on hit in here, which is another layer of defense for you. What else? Yeah, attributes, you need at least one of them, because that's not enough, especially because I got it cheap, because it's a corrupted one later, end of the league, like a month ago. Otherwise, just use a Stygian Wise. I think a Stygian Wise or whatever fits you. Even a Headhunter is like 5 diff nowadays. It's not that expensive, because it's ever since the Nemesis and Bloodlines changes, it's not that good anymore, the Headhunter. The only reason to use Headhunter is on certain strategies like Legion and 5 Ways and how's it called, Alva farming strat, because there's a lot of rare mobs that you're gonna be using with Evolving Shrine. With this build, I would recommend just farming Abysses or anything else involving just normal T16, T16.5, T17s. I would recommend using T17s simply because T17s are just so deadly, and it's just not worth using over T16.5 to farm. This build can do T17 bosses easily, except maybe one from the Sanctuary, but I think I've done all of them deathless with juiced mods. So it's definitely doable simply because of this one. Be careful of the ground degen effect, and certain mods you just cannot roll, except like the reduced block, ground degen, reduced defenses suck. What else? Power charge, stealing, whatever, right? These 2 nodes, not needed. Knockback, useless. You just had the 2 nodes open because I'm level 100. Excuse me in the background if you can hear my washing machine. I forgot I had it on. God damn it. It's probably like a explosion right there. I hope my mic doesn't pick up on it. Red Nightmare, necessary in conjunction with Swollen. Spell block. What else? You can get away with not using this. This is not really necessary. Those are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 4 skill points that you free up. You can free up another skill points here. This one isn't really necessary. You can like leave it at that. Sadism is pretty nice node because you chill and shock, and if you get a fire damage somewhere, you could probably even ignite someone and just get a lot of damage increased from it. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can like slot in couple intelligence small nodes and get like reduced curse effect on them, which is decent. Yeah. Core notes about this build: power charge stacking, so you definitely will need some power charge on hit or on crit. Support, simply because there's no way to generate it unless you are occultist or some other shenanigans. Swollen, so you need the Red Nightmare, just the fastest way to cap the block with as the mountain. It's anointed. What else? Not really necessary. 7 power charges, 6 power charges is enough. Just another neat bonus. You can all even use decent other rings. Maybe like Curse on hit, Elemental Weakness on hit, whatever. You do you. Yeah, this build has 3.4k HP, but the effective HP is like 200k. Or like 250, depending if you're standing still or not. We use Animate Guardian. It's... If you're mapping, it instantly dies to anything. However, while bossing, if you summon it, it wears Garper to Ephemeral, and it also has Leer Cast, which increases damage. What else? Golems. You can swap Chaos Golem for Ice Golem to cap crit. Not really necessary. Just trying out there. Spell skill gems and lightning spell skill gems. Not really necessary. You can get away with using one. You can get away with using a wand. You can get away with using a scepter. You can get away with using an explodey scepter if you have the money. You can get away. But then again, why would you play Crackling lands then? Just frankly stupid. Then just play the meta builds with Inquis or Energy Blade or Trickster Penance Brand. It's probably a much better build than anything I've come up with. Even this one is just scuffed build. That I transitioned from using Blade Vortex. Blade Vortex just destroys your hand, even with Unleash support. What else? Nothing much to add, I guess. Militant Faith, Watcher's Eye to Leech, Energy Shield. So we have Eldritch Battery. If you don't have this one, I guess pick up maybe where's the Leech nodes. I think some of them are here, and one of them is here. No, not here. Is it here? Yeah, that's where they're. You can even get like instant Leech with like Leech Mastery. It depends, alright? It's a highly customizable build at least. Get away with a lot of stuff. Because the defenses are solved by Swollen and this one. Anything else is just customizable. You can use a power charge stacking one. Then you don't have Swollen. With Malahai's Loop and Void Battery. Just kill everything before it kills you. But then I would just recommend use a Storm Brand of Disintegration or like Dissipation. I don't remember the Storm Brand gem. Penance Brand of Dissipation it was, not Storm Brand. Storm Brand of Indecision. You can probably somehow, especially if you're an Inquis, to get like enough life regen to run Righteous Fire. We use Steel Skin, what's it called? Self-cast, no castable damage taken simply because we don't have the gem slots. Runegraft of Treachery to have more reserve efficiency, not really needed, but if you want, it's just quite nice to have. Runegraft of Gemcraft, that one is expensive, around like 300, 250C, not worth it. Maybe. Skill gems, Power Charm on Crit, Spell Echo, obviously. We don't need to use Intensify. Crit damage, because we're a crit build, and that's the only way to get crit multi with this amount of skill points sunk into stupid stuff like that. Hypothermia, because I just couldn't get rid of the green slot, and since we are like chilling anything anyway, that's just more damage. And chance to chill and freeze. What else? Yeah, defense bastion of elements. You can unspec these two and maybe get this one for more damage and AoE. Just I don't feel like it's gonna change much. Just like these two nodes are just holdovers from Blade Vortex. But I'm still using two Heralds. Heralds of Ash and Heralds of Ice, and they give us a decent amount of added damage. And this is a huge damage effectiveness. Like 360%. It's way more than the basic ones. What else? Power charge, helmet, not really needed. as I said, you can use an Arc Demon Crown with like 6 links and then socket it here, and your golems are gonna be socketed here. And yeah, it's probably gonna be even more damage if you use this 6 link setup because of the more damage. Yeah,